hip hop, hip hop, hip hop, hip
Boyce is back.
hip hop,
Sam
hip
and
hop,
oh God,
hop.
what's
Hip
up with you?
There's a decent amount of money in it, and I don't have any regrets on that.
I was watching your channel maybe 3 years ago, and it was a young lady who came on there, and she pretty much called out Dr. Umar Johnson for school. And back then, I was a big time Umar Johnson supporter, so it kind of frustrated me. But when we look today, we see that a lot of the things that that young lady was saying on there was pretty much correct. Where do you stand with Dr. Umar Johnson today in the school, and how's your guys' relationship?
We don't have much of a relationship, and that disappointed me at the time when I met Umar in 2013 at a conference in Boston. I wanted to be his friend. You know, I wanted to get to know him. I think he's one of the best to this day. I think he's one of the best speakers I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I was to be raw and honest about it, I feel like sometimes he shoots himself in the foot. And I don't know if there's an unaddressed mental health issue going on or something like that. More specifically, I would say a little bit of narcissism, and also the defensiveness. You know, getting offended if somebody asks about some donation they made to your project. So maybe those are alarm bells or something. I don't know. I will say that a lot of that could have been avoided. Going back to what I was saying earlier about relationship management, you know, dealing with people in an appropriate and respectful way, I think is really important. That's why I love the Nation of Islam. I've never had a problem with anybody in the Nation of Islam because they have a code of conduct in terms of how they deal with you, even if they hate you. They deal with you in a certain way. And so I think that one of the things about that makes me sad is that did not have to happen. You know, I think that when Umar came up with the idea of starting the school, there were thousands of people that wanted to help him, including myself. I had gave a little bit of money. I didn't give a ton of money. I gave like $25 to the school, so it wasn't a ton of money, but I did make a donation, and I supported him. And there was a lady named Imani Perry, who's a Princeton professor, and she sent me this nasty little message saying, how can you support this man who's homophobic and this, that, and the other? And I said, and I was basically, my response was like, fuck you. Like, you can't tell me who my friends are going to be. I respect what he's doing. I don't have the right to tell him how to live his life and who he needs to be. And so I think a lot of people wanted to support that. And I think that the weird thing that happened was that it didn't seem like there was a lot of teamwork, right? I think for example, a lot of problems could have been solved if you simply got a group of educators and created like a board, right? And then issued like a report to your donors from the board, right? But the problem with that though is that a board might hold you accountable, so that will make you think, well, maybe there's something that he doesn't want everyone to know about. But like something like that, I think would have lent credibility to the project, because years later, 6, 7, 8 years later, how many years, there's no school yet. There's talk of what this school might be one day, but it's almost got to the point where nobody takes it seriously anymore. And in terms of that video, when that video was made, I was kind of like, oh man, like I don't mind freedom of speech on my platform when I share it with people, but I was like, oh Lord, this is gonna cause some issues. And the thing was, I reached out to I did the same thing there when I did when I used to share my platform with a lady named Yvette Carnell. I don't share with her anymore. Mm-hmm. But she did a kind of a diss track on Farrakhan. And I was like, okay, it's your right to disagree with Farrakhan, but you don't have to be so disrespectful. You don't have to completely dismiss a person to say, I don't agree with you. And that's what I think offends me, is when somebody almost goes after a black man and acts like he's irrelevant in every single way. And I felt like that's what she kind of did. So with the minister, I went over to his house and I talked to him about it. And he was actually incredibly gracious about it, much more gracious than I think a lot of people would have been. Again, that's why I give props to the Nation of Islam, because they just know how to deal with stuff like that. He even encouraged me to tell her to keep speaking. Now, I wasn't going to do that. I was like, I don't want to use my platform for that anymore. But I really admired that. I learned from that, right? He's one of my great mentors, like father figure types. And I said, wow, okay, so this is how you deal with stuff like that. Now, with Umar, it was different. I reached out and called, and he wouldn't talk to me. But yet, there would be like a meme the next day on his page, like making fun of me or something. And I'd be like, what is this shit? Like, are we like teenage girls? Like, what the fuck? You're supposed to get on the phone with me like a man. Like, what is? I don't get this, right? So then I actually said something on video. I was like, call me, like we could talk about it. And then there's another meme the next day, right? Doesn't and even back then, Mark Lamont Hill, I don't talk to Mark as much. Mark and I are very different politically, but Mark reached out to me to try to bring me together with Umar because he's in Philly with where Umar is, and I was like, yeah, I'll talk to him, get him on the phone, and he couldn't get him on the phone, and so it got to the point where I got pissed off because what happens, I think this, and I paid more attention to this stuff back in the day. I don't pay as much attention to it now. But I think that because I try to be nice to other black people, there are some people who mistake your kindness as weakness. To me, like, okay, you a punk, I can just do whatever. So I said, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to tell the honest to God fucking truth about you right now in this video. And I just laid it down, and I just laid down exactly what my concerns are with Umar and why I'm not messing with him anymore. And I thought that people were going to get mad at me, because people get caught in the cult of personality. I think that's a mistake on the part of black people. We get caught up in somebody who's charismatic without paying attention to what they're saying. And actually, the opposite happened. First of all, the video got viewed maybe 700,000 times. And then I noticed people started doing their own research, and they started writing full length, 10,000 word reports on Umar's history and background and everything else. And the thing that bothered me the most was I remember thinking it didn't even have to be this way. I don't believe that you win when you go to war, especially when you go to war with another black man, because all you really have when you go to war is you have the biggest loser, right? The way you win is you turn your enemy into a friend. And I remember thinking, man, I wanted to be your friend. I did not want to fight you, right? And he's still pissed off to this day about this video from 5 years ago. But honestly, like, I'll answer your question truthfully, just because this is really what happened. This was really what went through my mind. But like at this point, I don't even give a shit about it. I don't even think about it. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I wish him the best. I'm not going to give any more money to the school. I'll tell the truth about it if I get asked about it. But, and honestly, here's another thing too, right? If you believe in what Umar's doing, like if you if you think that he's pro-black and beneficial on some level, then why is it a big deal if he's getting compensated for what he's doing? I think that it's a reasonable argument to be made that a person that really adds value to your life should be able to raise money without necessarily having to create this massive project. Maybe we just support him because we like what he's doing. The same way we give money away to white people. We give all this money away to white people and don't say shit, but yet we scrutinize, well, I gave that Negro $20 and I didn't get a school. Well, I don't know. I kind of think that maybe he could sell a product, like sell something. You know what I mean? Instead of like the donation, like give me $20, give me $20. I don't think you have to do that. So that's my honest to God thought about Umar. I already know that if he sees this, he's going to interpret it the wrong way because he's real sensitive like that. Yeah. But that's the best way I can tell the truth on that.
Appreciate that. I got one more question for you, Dr. Watkins. Definitely appreciate your time on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Support. You said that a lot throughout what you just said about Dr. Umar Johnson. And I see that a lot that's coming real prevalent in Black media. We see that a lot of different Black media personalities are getting on independent platforms and vice versa. Talk about the importance of support, in particular in media and Black media.
Yeah, if you freedom is not free, right? And anything that you get for free isn't going to make you free. I mean, it usually comes with a string attached. So for Black people, we have to really understand what I would call economic maturity. Economic maturity means that you understand that if you want something, you're usually going to have to pay for it. You're going to have to create it yourself. You're going to have to hold that accountability, responsibility to support the things that matter to you. So, for example, when the presidential election occurred, this was the most expensive election in history. It cost about a total of $6 to $7 billion for Biden and Trump to compete against each other in the election. So that means millions of people put their money behind the candidate that they wanted to see run for office. There are better candidates out there. There are third-party candidates who are great, but it really came down to people, who the people supported the most. And it wasn't votes that made the difference. The votes are actually purchased with the dollar bills. The dollar bills must come before the votes arrive, right? So basically, if we're talking about building a Black Wall Street, if we're talking about building Black media, building Black empires in our community, we're going to have to support the things that we believe in, because you don't really want Black influencers who are financed by racist white people. You don't want that. Right. We don't want your platform, Hip Hop Uncensored, to be, supported by somebody who's sitting in the background telling y'all what to do, right? We want you guys to be free and independent. And so the best way I can support you is to, put a couple dollars in your pocket, or if you got a product, I can buy your product, right? You speak with your money. Talk is cheap. Telling the person you love them that's nice, but they have bills to pay. They have Black people they want to hire. So I would say, sure, you don't have to give your money away to everybody, but support Black people and Black businesses the way you support white people. If you do that, if you support Black people and Black businesses the way you support white people, then Black businesses will flourish. Trillions of dollars will enter into the Black community. In fact, if we gave just 1/5 of what we give to white people, our oppressors now, if we gave 1/5 of what we give to our oppressors to our own people, then we could build anything that we want. We are.